Okay, I sourced a 26 millimeter voice coil, and the idea is, again, it's 8 ohms. We want to shoot for about 1.8, 1.9 ohms for the voice coil. The idea is to take some of the windings off, and you can see me doing that. So again, starting at the top, if I counted correctly, about 54, 55 turns to get down to the bottom. And again, this is an 8 ohm coil. So let me recheck my DC resistance. Again, not impedance. When I started, I was just under 8 ohms of DC resistance. You'll also notice I'm using a socket that's just a little smaller than the 26 millimeter diameter. Again, just so I don't disfigure the voice coil while doing the work. Okay, my DC resistance is still higher than I need, so I'm going to start at the top winding again and go down toward the bottom. Again, I want to narrow the width of the voice coil anyway, so we don't have a large overhang inside that magnetic gap of that top plate. As you can see, I'm getting closer to my 1.8, 1.9 ohms that I'm shooting for DC resistance. So a few more windings will be removed here. I'm just checking the width of the voice coil now. Again, my window for that top plate is around 5 millimeters. So I'll probably end up being, plus or minus 1 millimeter above and or below. And flip the speaker basket over to paint the other side. As you can see, it turned out nice. And weighing the fill coil magnet wire that was left, you can see 15.4 ounces, doing some quick math, probably a 33 AWG. Okay, you can see I have the voice coil connected in series with the humbucking coil back to the secondary of the output transformer. I'm going to use my LCR 45 meter, read the what would be the plate primary side of the transformer, and look at the impedance. Again, the reflected impedance ideally would be around 10,000 ohms for the 6F6 tube. So I'm going to do some more tweaking using my LCR meter in this configuration and remove a few more windings from the voice coil to get closer to the 10,000 ohms, which would be the ideal reflected impedance, again back to the 6F6 tube in a push-pull configuration. Alright, rechecking one more time, again after removing 10 more turns from the voice coil, again hooked up in series with the humbucking coil back to the secondary of the output transformer, looking at the primary reflected impedance. And we're at a good spot now, just a little north of 10,000 ohms. And with the voice coil optimized now for the output transformer, the voice coil width of around 7 millimeters. And just doing a dry fit of the yoke. You can see the center pole piece, all that. It's been de-rusted. Looking at the new hardware that will be put in place, again with some locking nuts as well on the other side to align that center pole piece exactly in the center when I get to that point. Again, the fill coil will be installed, of course, first in that area. And again here I'm just measuring for the height itself of the fill coil former, so I can create that and start winding the new fill coil to give us around 1400 ohms of DC resistance. And just tapping that stem where I removed the rivet that held the bell housing on. And you can see it's tapped now. That will allow me to refasten the bell housing back on. And again, you can see the yoke and center pole piece cleaned up, de-rusted, looking much better. And of course the former here, or the bobbin that I'm creating just using fish paper to start the winding of the new fill coil. And some more de-rusting here of the bell cover or housing that I referred to. You can see all the rust inside of that, moisture over time. So I'll be doing the same here, trying to preserve the Zenith decal on the back as well. Then I'll give this a fresh coat of paint also. Again, just using some citric acid and water to do the de-rusting. And just a dry fit of the new bobbin that I created. It goes around the center pole piece, and you can see it attaching back to the humbucking coil. And I'll clean up that end piece as well. Output transformer. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the leads cleaned up here. And you can see again, no solder used, just the wires twisted together under the protective sleeve. And again, just identifying the leads, going back to the 7-prong plug as built. That leaves the center tap of the output transformer going to black, again not soldered, pin 7. Again, to illustrate how the repair was done in the past at some point in this life. As I did earlier, I'll just remove the 2 rivets here holding the transformer on using my Spring Tools chisel. Here we have it removed from the bracket that I'll clean up, de-rust, and paint as well. Here I am just using some cardstock, glue 2 pieces together. Again, I'll cut this out and create those end collars that I need for the bobbin itself, for the fill coil. And the humbucking coil now reinforced using some 3M transformer tape, ready to be placed back in the circuit when that time comes. And again, got the RPM set so that I get an even number of windings from left to right, right to left. Again, quite some wobble. What happens again when you throw a square peg into a round hole. Not overly critical though for winding the fill coil itself. And finally at the end, again using 33 AWG 12,653 turns. If the counter captured everything correctly. And simply just a dry fit of the humbucking coil just to make sure that it's nice and snug. And you can see the fill coil now back in place, 1400 ohms, what we were shooting for, plus or minus 10% would be ideal. Looking back at that bell housing after doing the de-rusting itself, cleaned up pretty well. You can see I was able to keep the original label. I'll reproduce a reproduction label as well, but leave that one in place. Take this outside, get a fresh coat of primer and paint on it. Look at the basket. Again, you can see I've got the yoke sitting there, the two tie points for the fill coil that I'll solder the new lead wire to. Looking at some of the hardware, new versus old. I think the new will work really well. Make for easier tightening and torquing of the bolts. Using fish paper tightly around that center pole piece. So when I snug these things down, I'll make sure that that center pole piece resides in the very center, or as close as possible in that basket, so we don't have any rubbing of the voice coil on the inside or outside. And you can see the 4 new locking nuts as well. And everything is torqued down at this point. So let me focus back on the bell housing. You can see it looks a heck of a lot better than our starting point. And then cleaning up that little transformer bracket as well, both sides of it. And just used a scrap piece of paper, cut a circle out the right circumference there to cover up the decal. So when I spray the top side of the can, I don't take away from the beauty of the original decal that was placed on there as well. You guys probably noticed when we were looking at the output transformer, the push-pull transformer, some of the tape on the outside had come off at some point. So just using some gaffer tape over that, polished it up. And there's the bell housing now after a couple coats of primer and paint, letting it dry for about 24 hours, and ditto there for the bracket, etc. Just having some fun here, taking my signal generator. Nothing is glued in, just a dry fit. Just wanted to make sure I still had continuity on my voice coil. Didn't create any issues. Everything's just laying inside the magnetic gap. Energizing the fill coil, just at 18 volts only. So the current flow is definitely much less than around the 90 to 100 milliamps. You can see here I'll use some of my conformal coating. I want to go back over the voice coil windings where I remove those. I'll let this cure for a day. A dry fit of the cup spider that I selected that will be compatible with the vintage cone that I was able to find. You can see here doing some dry fits, some shims around the center pole piece. Again, using the cup spider. After applying that conformal coating back to the voice coil, and again the cup spider, doing another dry fit. Again, I just want to make sure the height is correct. You can see here. I'm just looking for about 1 millimeter of separation on either side of that plate, being that the plate thickness is around 5 millimeters and the voice coil itself has a height of around 7. And after triple checking and making sure I had the height where I want it of the voice coil in relationship to the cup spider, you can see the shims in place, epoxy's been placed. Okay, I did a little trimming on the height of the voice coil former. If I had that to do over, I would have done that early on doing my dry fits. So for folks replicating my efforts, just keep that in mind. And you can see everything shimmed in place. My donor cone that I was able to find that has the correct height. It seems to lay down correctly with the cup spider I was able to secure along with the cone itself. You can see the wire coming out there, the flex wire. I'll be connecting back to the terminals of the voice coil and the tie down points on the basket itself. After getting the voice coil leads tied into the flex wire, you can see the DC resistance, again not impedance, of around 1.8, 1.9 ohms. That will increase just a bit when we loop that through in series with the humbucking coil. I'll use some epoxy and get the lead wires, the flex wire, tied back down to the cone. Of course, got to secure the surround itself and the voice coil. And we'll take this thing for a little test drive and see what it sounds like. Okay, I just placed the gasket on, and I just applied a little bit of Gojo for weight there on the bell housing. I'll just leave this in place for a few hours to make sure we get a good seal there. Then I'll go back and seal the cone around the gasket as well. Up next, I need to tie in the output transformer. Getting the loudspeaker back together, I wanted to ensure that I have the humbucking coil correctly. That is out of phase with the voice coil. You can see the pop-up in the right top corner of the screen. And if you're not seeing that, just check the video description. There's a link for doing so. I'm just